Shreveport, but we continue to see significant rains there, and we have had reports of flooding. Dallas, Fort Worth area, about 3 inches. Denton, Texas, about 2.84. There again is a look at the current map, and from this you'll be able to see the rain continues here across much of eastern Texas. It stretches up into northwestern Louisiana and all the way up into Indiana. Last check I saw, South Bend not getting any rainfall yet, but it may be there by now. A little bit of light rain kind of knocking on the door, pitter-pattering on the roof. Up into Chicago, some rain has been falling. It has been on the light side. Even into Milwaukee, we've had some light rain. On the back side of this, the snow has already started into western portions of North Dakota. I've seen a few areas with a little snow trying to mix in parts of South Dakota as well. So it's going to be a wintry scenario here, all the way back down into Denver, some snow and some gusty winds. Winds have been gusting up and over 30 miles per hour. That's going to cause some blowing snow around the Denver area as well. Lots of moisture, as I mentioned. The southerly flow ahead of this really drawing in quite a bit of moisture, and we're looking at many dew points in the 60s and 70s. Remember, dew point is a measure of how much moisture is in the lower levels of the atmosphere. So this is enough not only to really squeeze out some rain from those thunderclouds, but also enough to kind of fuel the fire for some of the stronger thunderstorms. And that has been a problem tonight, especially into Texas. We're going to spread that problem eastward, unfortunately, as we see our system kind of advancing. We're watching the thunderstorms themselves moving to the north and east. And it's been a very problematic night into parts of Texas and even into Louisiana. A couple of confirmed tornadoes into northwestern Louisiana. Nothing like that into Texas right now, but heading on into Bee and Live Oak counties. And I'm talking to the north and west of Corpus Christi, right around Interstate 37. Doppler radar indicated tornado and golf ball size hail. So a tornado warning in effect for Bee and Live Oak counties. And again, it's not far from the Three Rivers area, and that is going to be moving to the north and east, poised to cross over Interstate 37. We do have numerous severe thunderstorm and tornado watch areas in effect, extending all the way into southern portions of Arkansas. Just seeing a warning here into northwestern Arkansas, actually just to the north of Sebastian County, so north of Fort Smith. Looking at the potential for some severe weather as well. It's been a real nasty night, and there's a look at the lightning, the cloud-to-ground strikes of the lightning. Wow, and the latest ones in the past 10 to 15 minutes can be seen there in the white. So it's still very, very active here across the southern plains, stretching on into Arkansas and even into eastern Louisiana. It's been real tough to get rid of some of those heavier thunderstorms. Finally, across the Red River, we'll find some rain. We'll find some thunderstorms stretching again across northeastern Texas. Shreveport occasionally getting brushed with some of the thunderstorms, producing some heavier rain. As you can see, the moisture all working on into central and northern portions of Arkansas. We'll work our way all the way back down, and again, there is the problem area. There's the cell that's possibly producing a tornado, again poised to move across Interstate 35, so we'll be watching that very closely as well. Wow, don't know what happened there. It's a bad image. Let's just advance. What I wanted to show you is that a lot of the moisture, a lot of those thunderstorms are moving ever so much closer to the New Orleans area, and we'll be keeping an eye on that for you. Wintry travel out here to the west. Yep, you'll find some. You'll find some blowing snow into the Denver area. Some of the foothills may see a little bit more snow. And it's going to be kind of a wintry scene there into the Rockies, spreading into the Plain States overnight into Saturday. Numerous winter storm warnings in this particular area in effect, and also blizzard warnings. Believe it or not, blizzard warnings into central and western portions of South Dakota. It's going to be a real winter scene there. Expecting to see some significant snows, with some areas easily picking up over a foot heading into the Black Hills of South Dakota. Wow. And the Rockies of Colorado looking at a healthy dose of some more snow as well. We've had a very warm day in the east while it's been much cooler in the west. Again, the southerly winds ahead of the system pumping up some warmth behind it, drawing in some cooler air. Many, many record highs for this 4th day of April, 1997. Fort Wayne, Indiana topping the list with a high of 76 degrees. Milwaukee up to 79. Nice. And South Bend up to around 77 degrees. There's a look at the current readings. 58 now into Chicago, 66 heading into Atlanta, Georgia, and 60 degrees right now into New York City. The eastern part of the country looks like it should remain warm as we head on into the weekend. We're going to talk more about the weekend forecast coming up, but we're also going to talk more about those thunderstorms in the deep south and highlight where they are severe. That's coming up next with WeatherScope.
The lawn has been mowed and fertilized. It has been mulched until there is nothing left to mulch. The walls have been painted. The weeds have been whacked. And the deck will weather even the most brutal storms. Everything is ready. Now, I get to go out and play.
True Value, proud sponsor of opening day and yards everywhere.
Your family. They love you, and you love them. In fact, you love them so much you'd give your life for them. But that's not what they want. They just want you to stay healthy. Yet if you have high cholesterol, you could be at risk of a first heart attack. Fortunately, now there are proven treatment plans that can help lower your chances of a first heart attack. Call 1-800-PREVENT to find out more. The sooner you call, the sooner you will receive information that could help you prevent a first heart attack. You could be at risk, even if you have no signs of any heart problems. And the grim fact is, about 1/3 don't survive their first heart attack. Call 1-800-PREVENT to find out what you can do to help cut your chances of a first heart attack and live a longer, healthier life. Enjoy the milestones and cherished moments of your life. Call your doctor or 1-800-PREVENT now. From Bristol Myers Squibb.
The new program schedule on the Weather Channel makes it easy to get exactly the information you need. WeatherScope on the hour and half hour. Your local forecast on the 8s of every hour. TravelWise at 10 and 40 past. The weekly planner at 20 past. The weekend outlook at 15 and 45 past. And a storm update at 50 past. It's easy to use. The new program schedule on the Weather Channel. In the next half hour, WeatherScope gives you a comprehensive national forecast. At 10 after, TravelWise focuses on today's trouble spots. Next, your weekend outlook and the 5-day planner. Right now, your local forecast. Your local forecast on the 8s of every hour. TravelWise at 10 and 40 past. The weekly planner at 20 past. The weekend outlook at 15 and 45 past. And a storm update at 50 past. It's easy to use. The new program schedule on the Weather Channel. In this half hour, WeatherScope, a comprehensive national forecast. At 40 after, TravelWise gives you the latest on travel hotspots. Then the weekend outlook. And at 50 after, the storm update. Right now on the Weather Channel, your local forecast. This is WeatherScope.
A raging blizzard in the northern plains tonight, bringing several feet of snow to areas in Wyoming and the Dakotas. Welcome to this edition of WeatherScope. I'm Kristina Abernathy.
And I'm Sharon Resultan. Now, the same storm system brought severe weather to the eastern and Gulf Coast and to the Mississippi Valley today. It's also bringing rain to areas that just simply don't need it, like areas of South Dakota, for instance. It's been raining all day in Sioux Falls, and that moisture is adding to the snow melt, and it's causing severe flooding in some spots. The rain will continue tonight, but there is some good news. Temperatures tomorrow will be cooler in the 30s, so little snowmelt will occur. In St. Paul, Minnesota, the city's regional airport is taking flood precautions because the Mississippi River is quickly rising. Officials began moving airplanes and equipment to higher ground yesterday. The airport sits on a low spot right there along the river. So they are taking the necessary precautions in the event that flooding occurs across that area. Here's a look at the satellite picture. From this, you'll be able to see many different things. First off, the big system that we're talking about, and if you look close enough, you'll be able to see the circulation, the area of low pressure, the center of circulation right here into southwestern Minnesota. So ahead of it, the southerly winds coming in, bringing in some mild conditions and also producing, as you would imagine, counterclockwise flow and much colder air in behind it. So a lot of wind and a lot of precipitation with this system. This is a typical or classic spring storm where you can see a little bit of a clash of the seasons. Winter trying to hold on in the northern plain states and spring definitely winning out across the eastern part of the nation. The green, of course, indicating where we have the rain. The white, of course, would be the snow. You don't need me to tell you that, but what you might need me to tell you is how much snow has fallen across this area. It's just incredible so far. Up to 6 to 12 inches, areas in the gray, but the bright white over a foot. And before all is said and done, many of these areas a couple of feet, maybe even 3 feet of snow. As you work your way from I-94, say from around Bismarck, westward into Montana, the interstate's closed because of the heavy snow and the blowing and drifting snow. And also as you head from around Wall, South Dakota, westward through Rapid City into Wyoming, I-90 is closed across that region as well. Again, we've had reports of the snow drifting 4 and 5 and maybe even up to 6 feet at times due to the very, very strong winds. Here's a look at the current winds, and we're still looking at winds sustained here into the 30s. Look at that, even some 50s and some 60s, so some very high gusts can be found. Actually, these are the gusts that you're looking at, and we have had gusts up and over 60 miles per hour, so some nasty stuff out there. You can see that the strongest winds located into much of North and South Dakota, but also some wind advisories are in effect heading into portions of Nebraska as well, and extending on into Montana. Here's a closer look at the whole system here. The area of low pressure is quickly moving north and east, so it is going to spread up into Canada and drag the moisture along with it, going on into the daytime hours for Sunday. On the backside of this, lots and lots of cold air. That's where you're going to find lots of readings in the 20s. Ahead of it, very spring-like. Cleveland, for instance, still close to 70 degrees. Here's a look at your wind chills. Dangerously cold into Rapid City with the snow continuing there. Bismarck, it feels like 19 below right now. Nasty, nasty stuff. And a look again at the rain here into Minnesota. Little mixture around Grand Forks and Fargo, but it is snow here from Bismarck on westward and from Pierre on westward. Looking at some snowy conditions, occasionally heavy, and occasionally those visibilities reduced anywhere from 1/16 of a mile to 0. Can't even see ahead of your nose. It's that bad. Nasty conditions there. Heading into southwestern and south central portions of lower Michigan, still looking at a few strong thunderstorms, even a few severe thunderstorms into Berry County still in effect there, and we continue to watch these moving off to the north and east at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. Strong winds generally the problem there. And heading on into Topeka, we have a severe thunderstorm also whipping through this region as it pushes off to the north and east. And that is again into eastern portions of Kansas. All this not into Topeka yet, but some of those thunderstorms may cause a commotion as they continue to move in that direction. Kristina?
Well, it hasn't been a complete washout for everyone today. Areas along the East Coast enjoyed a warm spring day. In Atlanta, perfect weather to take a stroll through Centennial Olympic Park. Around noon, the fountains at the park reopened. They were turned off during the winter months. Dozens of kids enjoyed splashing in the water and cooling down. Temperatures in Atlanta were in the mid-80s. Let's see what's going on across the rest of the country. And here's what it looks like. Sharon told you all about what's going on in the Dakotas and with our wet and stormy weather, but we also have some messy weather in the northeastern U.S., Back to the southeast, of course, most of the western U.S. pretty quiet except for some snow here through Colorado and into Wyoming, where you're getting some significant snow as well as some windy conditions too. Ahead of a warm front, though, getting some rain here through New York and Pennsylvania and even into New Jersey. Look for that to push eastward as we head through time. We also have some wet weather here to the south through Kentucky and eastern Tennessee, northern Georgia, southern Alabama, back to the panhandle of Florida, and look for more unsettled weather tomorrow, perhaps moving into the Carolinas too, and look for that to sort of linger around through the day. As far as precipitation, these are the areas where you're going to run into some rainy travel problems and even some flood watches in effect here in darker green. And you could have some strong storms, not only here where you could have severe weather also, but strong storms possible in the southeast. Now the flip side of that system, as Sharon mentioned, was some wintry weather and some rather windy conditions, winds gusting well over 50 miles per hour here. So temperatures behind that system pretty chilly, already in the 20s and the teens here. Combine the wind with that, and not only some chilly wind chill readings here, but even as far south as, say, Denver, it feels like 5 degrees outside right now. What about our forecast, Sharon?
Well, let's go ahead and check it out, and we'll start you out with your Sunday morning, finding our system very wound up, no doubt about that. An area of low pressure, as I mentioned, is making some pretty good progress to the north and east. It will eventually drag the moisture, and, well, some of the winds will relax behind it. But into the morning hour, strong southerly breezes across the Great Lakes, strong north to northwesterly breezes behind this thing, and that's going to continue to cause blowing and drifting. Notice too that the rain that you've got now in Minnesota changes over to snow heading into Sunday morning. Still dealing with quite a bit of snow around Hibbing, around Virginia, Minnesota, heading up anywhere around the Arrowhead and on into northwestern portions of the land of 10,000 lakes, but looking better into the Dakotas as we head into the afternoon on Sunday. Notice that the winds relax here as well. Still some showers here along Interstate 95 across the southeast. There's a look at your precipitation forecast. Still some significant rains into the southeast as well, and certainly some significant snows heading into eastern portion of the Dakotas. It will wind down for you around Rapid City as we head through time. There again is a look at your lows for Sunday. Cool in the west, of course, warmer in the east, very balmy for you into the southeast. And your highs on Sunday looking pretty good into Atlanta, not bad even into New York City, and even a little bit warmer heading on into Boston and Worcester, but downright winter-like into the northern plains.
Okay, well, a quick reminder to everyone, it's time to change the clocks once again. Spring forward this time around for daylight savings time.
Okay, we're going to check on your local forecast when we return.
This is your local forecast, weather information you can plan on, because we show it on the 8s of every hour. Local on the 8s on the Weather Channel.
You've spent your entire life sleeping in an old-fashioned flat bed, but now you have the opportunity to find out about a better, healthier way to relax and sleep. Get this free information kit about Craftmatic adjustable beds. Call toll-free and a helpful operator will mail you a free Craftmatic adjustable bed catalog and this special rebate certificate. It's worth $200 off any Craftmatic Model 1 adjustable bed. Why is Craftmatic making this rebate offer? It's our way of saying thanks for taking the time to find out about Craftmatic. There is, of course, absolutely no obligation for calling toll-free and requesting this helpful information kit. So if you have any interest in adjustable beds, pick up your phone and call now.
Call toll-free 1-800-901-9393. That's 1-800-901-9393 toll-free. 1-800-901-9393.
Time now to update those travel conditions. Let's see what's in store if you have travel plans as we head into the next day or so. And just to give you an idea of what's going on out there right now, not a good idea to be traveling in North Dakota or parts of South Dakota right now. Much of I-94 and I-29 through North Dakota closed, and even portions of I-90 as we head back to the south closed as well through parts of South Dakota. So again, we have got a lot of snow falling here, very, very windy conditions. Notice how close together our isobars are here, our lines of equal pressure really packed in, and that gives us an idea that we are getting some very windy conditions. That indeed is happening. Winds have been gusting over 50, 60 miles per hour. So visibility is near zero with whiteout conditions. Again, a blizzard raging here through the Dakotas, and you've got the snow and the wind back to Colorado and Wyoming as well. Now, eastward with our low here, rain and even some big storms, especially through parts of Michigan. Severe weather's been reported here, while it's general wet weather and even the potential for flooding for some of these areas. Rain to the south, rain in the northeast, while most of the western U.S. pretty quiet, at least from Washington and Oregon back to California. It's here where things are not so nice. Again, travel is going to be a big problem. Best not even to try it through most of North Dakota, South Dakota, some messy conditions here too. And again, wherever you see the darker greens here, that's where flood watches are in effect. The combination of snow melt and rain that is falling there right now will result in flooding in many of these areas, so be on the lookout for that. We widen our view. Other areas getting wet weather along the East Coast, anywhere from New England to the Gulf Coast. You could see some soggy conditions, and we also have several areas where strong storms are possible, maybe even severe weather here through Michigan into Indiana. And again, we have had some reports of severe weather recently in Michigan. Wintry conditions here, again, behind that area of low pressure, the cold air coming in. You've got the windy conditions, you've got the snow, so from the Dakotas through Wyoming, panhandle of Nebraska back into Colorado and even Utah, you're definitely going to have the snow to contend with, and travel not even advised through much of North Dakota and parts of South Dakota as well, with these winds really howling here 50 miles per hour or higher, and indeed they have been higher through parts of the Dakotas, and look out into Minnesota as well. And stay tuned. Coming up next, we'll take a look at your local forecast. Don't go away.
The average funeral today now costs over $4,000, but the most Social Security will pay to your survivors, if they qualify, is only $255, leaving your loved ones to pay the balance. If you're age 50 to 80, you can protect your loved ones with Montgomery Ward Life's Mature Life Plan. It pays cash expenses at your family's time of need.
It's important to know my wife or kids won't be burdened if anything happens to me.
I didn't have to take a physical. I didn't even have to answer any health questions.
With the Mature Life Plan, you enroll by mail and you cannot be turned down for coverage.
I feel good knowing that we're protected by Montgomery Ward Life, a company we know we can trust.
Call now and get a free booklet explaining Social Security benefits and free information about the Mature Life Plan.
For free information, call 1-800-718-6363.
Know what to expect. Watch our 5-day planner 20 minutes after every hour on the Weather Channel. No place on earth has better weather.
International Weather is sponsored by the Australian Tourist Commission, who invites you to pop on down to Australia and enjoy the sunshine. A look at the big picture gives you a world view. What's going on across the world, including the U.S., where Again, some very stormy conditions through the Dakotas and even into Minnesota, with wet weather in Minnesota and blizzard conditions through the Dakotas. Some of that rain in Minnesota will be changing over to snow as we head through time. But let's take a look at what's going on in some other parts of the world. We'll head again to the big picture, and you can see high temperatures across the entire world here for the past 24 hours in a little more detail here through Canada, just to give you an idea. As we head on into Winnipeg, 28 degrees, the high there. Edmonton, 27, then over to Alaska. Fairbanks, the high there, 48, 37 in Anchorage. Southward we go, where the high in Lima, 75 degrees. Kingston, Jamaica, 86. Mexico City, 72. And into Europe, fairly mild conditions here, especially into France and into Spain, where Madrid up to 77, 61 in Paris, a little cooler to the east, although not unbearable, with highs here in the 40s. We head to Hong Kong, 79, the high there, and Bombay, 91. And down under we go, where the high in Brisbane, 81, Melbourne, only up to 66 degrees. That's it for international weather. Stay tuned. Your spring weather update is coming up next.
You Americans work too hard.
If you ask me, you could use a holiday in a place that's made for it. Australia.
Where summer's in December, just when you need it the most. For the winter, though, you need to throw in something a little warmer.
When you're here, g'day.
G'day.
And catch yourself saying it back.
Although you'll be saying it with a funny accent.
Well, the zoos and museums are always open.
For a day in the water can include both the rainforest and the reef.
Where 2 weeks can fill the rest of your life with stories.
It's where your next holiday should be. So why don't you pop on down? There's plenty of room. For a free Australian travel planner, ring us at 1-800-DOWN-UNDER.
Hey, it's not as far as you think.
WeatherScope. It's all the weather you want. Every 30 minutes on the hour and half hour on the Weather Channel.
Don't fool around with Mother Nature. When it comes to severe weather, be prepared. Call 1-900-WEATHER. No place on earth has better weather.
You've spent your entire life sleeping in an old-fashioned flat bed, but now you have the opportunity to find out about a better, healthier way to relax and sleep. Get this free information kit about Craftmatic adjustable beds. Call toll-free and a helpful operator will mail you a free Craftmatic adjustable bed catalog and this special rebate certificate. It's worth $200 off any Craftmatic Model 1 adjustable bed. Why is Craftmatic making this rebate offer? It's our way of saying thanks for taking the time to find out about Craftmatic. There is, of course, absolutely no obligation for calling toll-free and requesting this helpful information kit. So if you have any interest in adjustable beds, pick up your phone and call now.
Call toll-free 1-800-901-9393. That's 1-800-901-9393 toll-free. 1-800-901-9393.
This is your local forecast, weather information you can plan on, because we show it on the 8s of every hour. Local on the 8s on the Weather Channel. Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Well, let's go ahead and look at the spring weather out there. There is a lot to talk about, folks, as we have one major system that's really causing a commotion across much of the lower 48. If you look at the map here, you'll be hard-pressed to really find anything not associated with this low ahead of its warm front, which, by the way, is kind of falling apart. Still a few showers into parts of upstate New York. A few showers also with that southerly flow ahead of this system into the southeast. And then a lot of precipitation in the form of rain and snow into the northern tier states, and still on the back side of this, winding down some snow into the Rockies of Colorado and on into Wyoming as well. So a very, very active system, there is no doubt about that. Our area of low pressure will continue to move to the northeast, so eventually we're going to get rid of this thing, but it's going to be a pestering system for the rest of the night. There is no doubt about that. Very tightly packed isobars, proving that there's a lot of wind, and if that doesn't do it for you, look at the actual wind gusts. And I can even update this for you. I was just calculating the winds in miles per hour there in Rapid City, 67 mile per hour wind gust. 67, that's the gust. Very nasty conditions here. The gusty winds are blowing the snow and drifting the snow. We have snow drifts up to 4 and 5 feet in some areas. Much of I-94 is closed across North Dakota, heading into South Dakota from around Wall, back out along I-90 into Wyoming, I-90 closed. So some very treacherous conditions, very dangerous conditions to be out there traveling. Here's a look at the snow history so far, and you can see here heading into eastern portions of Wyoming and on into western portions of the Dakotas, that bright white indicating we're over a foot of snow has already fallen. Can you believe that? That's a tremendous amount of snowfall, and that doesn't even include the area in the gray, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches so far there. Some of these areas could easily pick up 2, maybe 3 feet of snow. Bismarck has been snowing heavily for the past several hours, with blowing snow and winds gusting up and over 50 miles an hour. Just incredible weather out here. Our area of low pressure is so strong. It's such a deep low pressure system, and it's just really causing some problems for your travel across this area. Now, from a radar perspective, we're finding some showers here into much of Minnesota, as you can see, especially heading into the northern portion of the state. Getting into Grand Forks, Fargo, and on into Watertown, South Dakota. Starting to see some freezing rain. This was earlier a cold rain. It's starting to freeze the surfaces now as temperatures continue to fall. But you get into this region on westward, including Bismarck on into western North Dakota, Pierre on out toward Rapid City. That's snow, and at times it is moderate to heavy. And as I mentioned, heavy snow that continues to fall for the past several hours into the Bismarck area. How much more snow can be expected? Again, there's a look at the precipitation forecast. With eastern portions of the Dakotas getting socked with some snow as we head through tonight and on into Sunday. And note, too, that we're going to have a changeover to snow heading into Minnesota as well. Let's take a closer inspection of the system now. Again, there's our area of low pressure. It continues to move to the north and east. It's a counterclockwise flow around that low, so we have the southerly winds coming in ahead of it, and then we have the northerly winds wrapping around behind it. Well, you see where the northerly winds are coming from Canada, so they're pulling down all that colder Canadian air, and that's where we're finding the snow, the blustery conditions, and of course lots and lots of cold air. 22 in Bismarck, compare that to Cleveland, where you're close to 70 degrees thanks to the southerly breezes there. A big, big difference as you go from one side of the storm to the other. Dangerous wind chills also a result of this. 19 below is what it feels like in Bismarck. It feels like 20 below heading into Rapid City. Can you believe that? Some nasty conditions as we work our way into the upper Midwest. Dangerous, in fact, because when you think about the winds, if you live in a trailer, if you're towing a trailer or driving a high-profile vehicle, first of all, it's going to be tough to travel with all the snow here. But with the windy conditions that spread all the way out through the Great Lakes, you're going to have to get a firm grip on the steering wheel and maybe take some extra precautions if you live in a trailer as well. Very gusty winds. Again, there's a look at the current map. Southerly winds ahead of this have brought you a nice warm day, toastier than normal here across much of the eastern Great Lakes, even into southern New England, but cooler than the average as we work our way out westward. I'll look at the actual temperatures right now, and again, some of the warmth across parts of the south has actually helped to fuel the fire for a few thunderstorms. Still may see some gusty winds with some of those thunderstorms in the southeast, and we're still watching a few stronger storms heading on into parts of lower Michigan. Let me name off a couple of spots as we go into lower Michigan. Ione County and Montcalm County still looking at severe thunderstorm warnings, and then Montgomery into southeastern Kansas, Wilson, Chautauqua, and Elk County. All four of those counties under severe thunderstorm warnings, as these storms have really kind of picked up some energy. They're pushing to the northeast and could produce some very gusty winds. Watch out in Topeka, some heavy rain and maybe some gusty winds heading your way in the next hour or so. Your local forecast is next.
The average funeral today now costs over $4,000. But the most Social Security will pay to your survivors, if they qualify, is only $255, leaving your loved ones to pay the balance. If you're age 50 to 80, you can protect your loved ones with Montgomery Ward Life's Mature Life Plan. It pays cash expenses at your family's time of need.
It's important to know my wife or kids won't be burdened if anything happens to me.
I didn't have to take a physical. I didn't even have to answer any health questions.
With the Mature Life Plan, you enroll by mail and you cannot be turned down for coverage.
I feel good knowing that we're protected by Montgomery Ward Life, a company we know we can trust.
Call now and get a free booklet explaining Social Security benefits and free information about the Mature Life Plan.
For free information, call 1-800-718-6363.
The new program schedule on the Weather Channel makes it easy to get exactly the information you need. WeatherScope on the Hour and Half Hour. Your local forecast on the...
Rains tonight bringing several feet of snow to areas in Wyoming and the Dakotas. Welcome to this edition of WeatherScope. I'm Kristina Abernathy.
And I'm Sharon. Resultan. This same storm system brought some severe weather to the eastern Gulf Coast and to the Mississippi Valley today. It's also bringing rain to areas that just simply don't need it. Areas like South Dakota, for instance. It's been raining all day in Sioux Falls, and that moisture is adding to the snow melt, and it's causing severe flooding in some areas. The rain will continue into tonight and change over to snow in this region as well. Temperatures tomorrow, of course, will be much cooler in the 30s, so little snow melt is expected. In St. Paul, Minnesota, the city's regional airport is taking flood precautions because the Mississippi River is quickly rising. Officials began moving airplanes and equipment to higher ground yesterday. The airport sits on a low spot along the river. Let's go ahead and take a peek at what's going on out there right now. Put the satellite in motion for you, and you can see we're really working with one system that's covering an awful lot of real estate across the country and producing some very nasty weather for many of you folks on this Saturday evening. Nasty indeed. Blizzard conditions here. A blizzard is happening right now on this April 5th in the Western Dakotas, and the blizzard warnings will continue through tonight for this region. Winter storm warnings extending eastward into northwestern Minnesota, and we even have a few stronger thunderstorms entering the picture around west central Missouri. Lots to talk about here, folks, and it's all associated with one system. Closely packed isobars here indicating windy conditions, in this case coming in out of the south ahead of our low, so it's been balmy and it's been very spring-like. On the back side of it, the wind circulating counterclockwise around the low, drawing in that cold air out of Canada, so that's where you've seen the snow, the wind, the snow drifts up to 3 and 4 feet in some areas. And we're talking about wind gusts. Well, I'll show you in a moment, but they are nasty heading into the Rapid City area of South Dakota. Here's a look at the storm history so far, and this has been updated, I can tell, because we've got a little more gray on the map. Bismarck has had some heavy snow for the past several hours, looking at over 10 inches of snow now in the Bismarck area, and it continues to come down. Windy conditions creating blowing and drifting. Most of I-94 shut down. Interstate 29 heading up toward the Canadian border, closed for business as well, and numerous problems also along I-90. Matter of fact, from Wall on out into Wyoming, I-90 closed as well. And as promised, to look at some of the current winds, gusting to 69 miles per hour now into western South Dakota, and the sustained winds are over 50 miles an hour. Anchor down anything outside that has a risk of blowing away. Nasty conditions. If you drive a high-profile vehicle, even in the areas where we're not finding the snow, even into Iowa and even into portions of Minnesota. Make sure you have a firm grip on the steering wheel. It's going to be a nasty ride tonight on into early tomorrow. Closer inspection here, you can see the southerly winds, and that's been drawing up some warm air. 67 right now in Cleveland, 63, very nice in Indianapolis. On the backside of it, much, much colder. Factor in the winds, it's bitterly cold. 15 and 20 below is what it feels like in Bismarck and Rapid City, respectively. There's a look at the radar pattern, and you're finding the rain here into Minnesota. It's a cold rain. Grand Forks, a mixture of precipitation, freezing rain. That's some slick stuff in Fargo. And around Watertown, South Dakota, finally seeing that change over to snow. Snowy travel here, and as I mentioned, we continue to see some heavy snow and reduced visibilities in Bismarck. Our thunderstorms, good news here, they're finally fizzling out into lower Michigan, but watching a few stronger storms pushing on through Kansas City and stretching also through west central portions of Missouri. What's happening across the rest of the nation? Here's Kristina to tell you.
Well, it hasn't been a complete washout for everyone today. Areas along the East Coast enjoyed a warm spring day. In Atlanta, it was perfect weather to take a stroll through Centennial Olympic Park. Around noon, the fountains at the park reopened. They were turned off during the winter months. Dozens of kids enjoyed splashing in the water and cooling down on this warm day, where temperatures in Atlanta were in the mid-80s. Well, let's see what's going on across the rest of the country. And of course, Sharon told you all about the snow and the storms through parts of the central U.S., but head eastward, and we've got a bit of wet weather to talk about here too, through New York and into Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and then wet weather back to the south. Maybe even some storms mixed in, while in the western half of the country, at least along the west coast, things relatively quiet here. But in the northeast we go first of all, where again, you've got some wet weather, New York State, eastern Pennsylvania, northern portions of New Jersey, and look for that to move eastward as we head through time. All this out ahead of that warm front, of course, an area of high pressure just off the northeast coast. Southward, wet weather from eastern Tennessee, northern Georgia, including the Atlanta area, back towards the panhandle of Florida, and then out into the Gulf. And again, you do have some storminess mixed in here too, so be on the lookout for that. As far as precipitation, any of these areas could see it. Some flood watches in effect here. We also have the chance for strong or even severe storms, and look out for wintry weather here to the north. The snow falling, as Sharon mentioned, maybe a wintry mix just on the eastern fringe of the snow, and then wet weather here, although this wet weather will be changing over to snow as we head through tomorrow. We'll have more on that coming up in the forecast. But the winds really howling here through the Dakotas and Minnesota. Winds 50 miles per hour or more, not at all out of the question. And temperatures here pretty chilly. 29 on into Denver, 54, LA, 58. In Dallas, 62 in Houston. So pretty mild really for the southern and eastern portions of the country, where Atlanta at 63 degrees, and it is 51 now in New York City. What about our forecast, Sharon?
Well, heading into Sunday morning, it's still looking pretty nasty due to the one storm system we've been dealing with today. Again, I call your attention to the isobars, those lines of constant pressure. When they're that close together, expect some wind. And in this case, ahead of it, it's going to be out of the south. Behind it, those wicked cold temperatures coming in out of the north and west as the cold air gets drawn in out of Canada. So some nasty conditions continue into the morning. Again, conditions right now into the Dakotas. Virtually impossible in some areas due to reduced visibility and the blowing and drifting snow. So we encourage you to stay put for the night and do not attempt to travel. It could be a very dangerous situation. If you must get out, wait until later in the day on Sunday as we finally start to see the pressure gradient relax or the winds relax, and the snow will all push off to your east. Still looking at some nasty weather into much of Minnesota and Wisconsin with the snow coming down for your Sunday afternoon. Showers here lining up along the eastern seaboard. You will find some rain into southern New England, some scattered showers, some of that scattered across southeast Georgia as well, and some areas may pick up over an inch of rainfall in those heavier showers. And the shift of the heavy snow will slowly work its way eastward as the snow very slowly tapers off across the western Dakotas. Remember the blizzard warnings in effect across this region over the nighttime hours. And finally, a look at lows on Sunday. You'll find the warmth in the southeast, much cooler air out to the west, and a similar story for Sunday. Not going to change very much, folks. It's going to be a real cool start for you for the weekend and on into early next week as that low continues to draw in lots of cold air behind it. Ahead of it, though, looking at some 70s, and we're going to find lots of warmth even down into Florida for all the spring breakers there.
And a quick reminder that it's time to set that clock ahead 1 hour, time to spring forward. for daylight savings time.
Okay, you get to enjoy an extra hour of daylight in the evening for a change when you get home from work. Good playtime. We'll be right back.
This is your local forecast, weather information you can plan on, because we show it on the 8s of every hour. Local on the 8s on the Weather Channel.
If you or anyone you love has ever suffered from low back pain, poor circulation, minor arthritic-like pain, or just poor sleep, you owe it to yourself to call for this free 50-minute video with health tips from Dr. Nagler and this free Celebrity Choice adjustable bed catalog. Dr. Nagler, Chief of Physical Medicine at Cornell University Medical Center, will share his valuable health tips on how to live a long and healthy life. And you'll hear Celebrity Choice adjustable bed owners tell how their bed helps relieve many aches and pains that would just never go away. And you'll learn the advantages adjustable beds have over flat, air, and water beds, and all in the privacy of your home with absolutely no high pressure. So call for your free 50-minute video with health tips from Dr. Nagler. The video and your Celebrity Choice catalog are free if you call right now.
Call 1-800-492-8800. No purchase is necessary. Get your free video and catalog. Call 1-800-492-8800.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at your TravelWise and maybe give you a little travel wisdom. And the best advice I can give you is do not travel on I-94. We have reports here from the Highway Patrol that, let's see, I-94 both eastbound and westbound from Valley City to Fargo is closed, and we already know west of that point we have had problems tonight, and that has been reported to be closed as well. Also, Interstate 29 from the Canadian border to Fargo, and let's see, northbound I-29 from Fargo closed. So some advice for you, stay put where you are this evening. You don't need to be out and about in this mess, and it is a mess. It's a blizzard, folks, and that is something you don't want to tangle with. We are finding some freezing rain heading into Fargo, and we're finding that freezing rain eventually will be changing over to snow, but before that happens, you're looking at some very slick conditions and flood problems, a possibility into much of Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. There again is a look at your wintry travel, and note too that it extends all the way back down into western Nebraska. Blizzard warnings in effect here too, and on into eastern portions of Wyoming. So some nasty conditions back into the Colorado Rockies and on into the Wasatch Mountains of Utah. Some snowy conditions as well. Elsewhere, though, we find the rain, and the rain has not reached the eastern seaboard yet, but we might find some showers before we reach into the noon hour on Sunday. So keep that in mind. Things could get wet for you into Boston, New York City, and Philly. Also extending down to, say, around the Raleigh area and down toward Atlanta as too. We've already had some showers, and you might expect to see maybe just a few more before all is said and done. Maybe a couple of strong thunderstorms. By that I mean they may produce some gusty winds. We most recently have had some strong to severe thunderstorms eastern Kansas, extreme western and west central Missouri. Those continue to trek off to the east and northeast, and occasionally getting some isolated reports of some severe thunderstorms there. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. Your windy travel, as you can see, extends across the Great Lakes and on into the eastern Great Lakes as we work our way through Sunday, at least early Sunday. It's going to be this whole system very wound ground up. We are getting winds, sustained winds, over 50 miles an hour in Rapid City, climbing up to or gusting up to 70 miles an hour at times there. So some dangerously windy conditions can be found. And again, foggy travel as you head up into the northern Great Lakes. Must not be quite so windy up there just yet in order for the fog to form. Looking at a little bit of rain pushing through eastern portions of New York State and on into New England right now. There's the rain, a cold rain in Minnesota, freezing rain into eastern North Dakota, and then a snow event for the rest of the Dakotas, and some stronger storms pushing on through the central plain states, and some remaining showers and thunderstorms heading into the south and east. We're going to check on your international weather when we come back. Don't go away.
Going through my divorce was real tough. The bills just piled up. I couldn't even get a credit card. But thanks to First Consumers National Bank, I received a secured and more MasterCard with a credit line that's 200% of my deposit.
It's hard to save money when you're just starting out. FCNB's low $100 minimum deposit helped me put a credit card in my wallet fast, and they matched my deposit 100%.
Now you can build or rebuild your credit with the FCNB Secured and More MasterCard, the only card with a low $100 minimum deposit and a credit limit between 100 and 200% of your deposit. You'll pay no application or processing fees, plus we offer quick processing and your deposit is FDIC insured.
Last year, I needed legal help with my credit problems. Then FCNB helped me rebuild my credit with their Secured and More MasterCard and a credit line that's 150% of my deposit.
For a free application, call FCNB today. The FCNB Secured and More MasterCard. Get the credit you need now.
Know what to expect. Watch our 5-day planner 20 minutes after every hour on the Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Well, let's go ahead and look at international weather, and in this case it's going to be weather around the world. And well, that's sort of silly the way that seems to be looping, isn't it? But at least it gives you an idea that outside of the lower 48, outside of the U.S., there are lots of weather systems out there, and we are not the only ones getting some bad weather in some areas. Lots of clouds you can see heading on into central portions of Africa and on into South America as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at some temperatures, and these are the highs over the past 24 hours. Obviously, as we get closer to the equator, we expect to see yellows and oranges, meaning some warmer temperature readings in these regions. And we get further away from the equator and further up to the north, and it's still quite cold. In case you were wondering, even parts of northern Canada still looking at readings well below zero. Not uncommon at all. As a matter of fact, Churchill, 3 degrees for a high, Cambridge Bay, 17 below, and that was the high. So that's one to put down in the it could always be worse category in case you're shivering in your boots there around the northern plain states tonight. Here's a look now at the high temperatures over the past 24 hours. As we work our way down into South America, and you'll find generally lots of 70s and 80s. Of course, south of the border, I should say not south of the border, but south of the equator, we're actually entering the fall season. So similar story heading on into Australia, for instance. Here's a look at European weather, and if you've got travels taking you to Paris, not bad, 61 degrees over the past 24 hours. So we've had some warmth across Western Europe, but it has been much colder from Germany on out into Russia. And finally, we work our way on into let's see, Tokyo and on out toward China, and you'll find some fairly temperate readings there. Working on into India, find some warmth as well.
WeatherScope. It's all the weather you want. Every 30 minutes on the hour and half hour on the Weather Channel. WeatherScope. It's all the weather you want. Every 30 minutes on the hour and half hour on the Weather Channel.
If you or anyone you love has ever suffered from low back pain, poor circulation, minor arthritic-like pain, or just poor sleep, you owe it to yourself to call for this free 50-minute video with health tips from Dr. Nagler and this free Celebrity Choice adjustable bed catalog. Dr. Nagler, Chief of Physical Medicine at Cornell University Medical Center, will share his valuable health tips on how to live a long and healthy life. And you'll hear Celebrity Choice adjustable bed owners tell how their bed helps relieve many aches and pains that would just never go away. And you'll learn the advantages adjustable beds have over flat, air, and water beds, and all in the privacy of your home with absolutely no high pressure. So call for your free 50-minute video with health tips from Dr. Nagler. The video and your Celebrity Choice catalog are free if you call right now.
Call 1-800-492-8800. No purchase is necessary. Get your free video and catalog. Call 1-800-492-8800.
This is your local forecast, weather information you can plan on, because we show it on the 8s of every hour. Local on the 8s on the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Let's go ahead and look at your spring weather update, and we'll start you out first with a current map. We've been talking all evening about our massive spring storm here, producing some heavy rain in parts of Minnesota and lots of snow, heavy snow in some cases into the Dakotas. A blizzard is happening as I speak, and most of I-94 in North Dakota impassable or closed, most if not all of it, and Interstate 29 from Fargo up to the Canadian border closed as well. I-90 from around can't remember the city. I've been saying it all night. Slipped my mind. I don't know. It's around Wall, I want to say, but I don't think that's quite right. Back out. I'll check on it for you. Back out into Wyoming. We are finding some problems as well. So that's I-90 from east of Rapid City on out into Wyoming, shut down for business. And it has been a long night, obviously, for folks in the northern plain states, and it's going to be longer because you're going to have to stay put where you are. Travel not recommended there. As we work our way into the eastern Great Lakes, we're going to find not only a lot of wind there, but some warmer temperatures and a little bit of rain. While I'm on the subject of wind real quick, I want to show you what's happening out here. Rapid City, sustained winds over 50 miles per hour, gusting up to 69, 70 miles an hour. Nasty stuff, folks. Make sure you secure all outdoor objects, even into this region, even as you head into parts of Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. We've got some very gusty winds as well. I'll look at your storm history here, and we have updated this, and you can see now the bright white extending into central and northern portions of North Dakota. Many of these spots will see 8 to 18 inches before all is said and done. Already over 10 inches in Bismarck, as we have had hour after hour after hour of heavy snow and blowing snow. Very nasty scenario heading into the Bismarck area. Note, too, that the snowy travel extends all the way back down into the Rockies of Colorado and even into parts of Arizona and New Mexico. And there you're able to see the pattern with some rain here into Minnesota, finding some rain. Grand Forks looking at some freezing rain. Fargo is actually a mixture precipitation here. Fargo has seen some freezing rain. This will all change over completely to snow before the night is through. So plan on this region seeing some nasty conditions as we work our way right on into the morning hours. You're going to have a layer of ice, and then you're going to have the snow piling up on top of that. It's snowy travel for the rest of the Dakotas and most of both western South and North Dakota. Blizzard warnings in effect for tonight. Again, a look at your snowfall forecast here, and you're able to see the snow. Note that it's going to be increasing here into eastern portions of the Dakotas. What I want you to see is that we're going to have that changeover, and you will find accumulating snow, adding insult to injury for your travels there. Even into northwestern Minnesota, winter storm warnings have been established. Ahead of this system, southerly winds drawing in lots and lots of warmth. 67 right now into Cleveland, 63 into Indianapolis, 58 in Chicago. That's not bad. But we work our way on into the upper Midwest and the northern plains. The winds here coming in out of the north behind the low, and that's where we're finding readings in the 20s at this time. And wind chills even colder than that. It feels like 15 to 20 below across this region. Very, very cold air and very nasty conditions. Dangerously cold and dangerous travel conditions as well. Again, there's a look at the big picture, and that's really the only story in town. The broad area of southerly winds ahead of it also helping along a few showers, pulling up some of that moisture into parts of upstate New York and southern New England, and a few showers and thunderstorms continue here, as well as into the Topeka area and extending on into Kansas City. Actually, most of it moving on into Missouri at this time. But what I wanted to show you is the southerly winds have allowed for a warmer than average day across the east. The northerly pull of the Canadian air being drawn out of Canada, producing colder temperatures out to the west. So there's our temperature regime right now. 58, as I mentioned, in Chicago, but it gets much colder on the backside of this with lots of 20s and even some teens in some areas. So some nasty, nasty cold air. In the areas where we found some warmer temperatures, that's where we also find the potential maybe for some strong to severe thunderstorms. And our severe threat is pushing now into central portions of Missouri. We had some thunderstorms developing earlier around Wichita. They worked up into Topeka, and they're now stretching on into Kansas City, and another little band moving through central portions of Missouri. All that pushing to the north and east. Any severe weather we've had has generally just been with wind damage, and we've just seen a few thunderstorms popping up this evening. Maybe some gusty winds with some of the thunderstorms in the southeast as well. But the storms we earlier had into Michigan have died out. You can see as soon as they work their way into the thumb area, they really significantly died out. This is the band. Still some rain around Topeka, but still watching this cluster of storms north and east of Kansas City and a little bit just to the west of Columbia, but that does not appear to be too threatening at this time. So no major problems with severe weather, but you will find some gusty winds out there. If it's outside of the thunderstorms, it's going to be very windy. In some cases, almost close to hurricane force winds associated with our low in the northern plain states. Your local forecast will be coming up next, and we're also going to take you westward and discuss in a little more detail what you can expect there. We're going to take a look at your extended forecast coming up and give you another idea of what you can expect into the week. Will we have any more strong storms as we work our way into early next week? We'll talk about that coming up next.
Going through my divorce was real tough. The bills just piled up, I couldn't even get a credit card. But thanks to First Consumers National Bank, I received a secured and more MasterCard with a credit line that's 200% of my deposit.
It's hard to save money when you're just starting out. FCNB's low $100 minimum deposit helped me put a credit card in my wallet fast, and they matched my deposit 100%.
Now you can build or rebuild your credit with the FCNB Secured and More MasterCard, the only card with a low $100 minimum deposit and a credit limit between 100 and 200% of your deposit. You'll pay no application or processing fees, plus we offer quick processing and your deposit is FDIC insured.
Last year, I needed legal help with my credit problems. Then FCNB helped me rebuild my credit with their Secured and More MasterCard and a credit line that's 150% of my deposit.
For a free application, call FCNB today. The FCNB Secured and More MasterCard. Get the credit you need now.
Right now, the weather is changing. What's here today can be gone tomorrow. Because we know you need to plan and prepare, we dedicate a special team to forecasting the outlook for the days ahead. So you know what to expect. Watch our 5-day planner, 20 minutes after every hour on the Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather. In the next half hour, WeatherScope gives you a comprehensive national forecast. At 10 after, TravelWise focuses on today's trouble spots. Next, your weekend outlook and the 5-day planner. Right now, your local forecast.
Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Kristina Abernathy. It's time to take a look at our forecast, but before we do that, let's take a look back at last week's weather with Weather Rewind.
This is a week that will go down in weather history. A spring storm hits the northeastern United States, producing record snowfalls. The area of low pressure moved across the Ohio Valley, then a new low formed off the New Jersey coast, intensifying into a classic nor'easter. Before it was all over, the Boston area hit an all-time record snowfall for the month of April, nearly 25.5 inches. Residents had to literally dig themselves out. There were impressive snowfalls throughout the New England area, like Putnam, Connecticut, and Providence, Rhode Island. By midweek, the nor'easter moved out into the Atlantic, but another storm system moved into the west, dumping more than 2 feet of snow on Flagstaff, Arizona. That same storm system brought strong gusts of winds to areas of the southwest. In Centerville, Utah, wind gusts were so strong, about 60 miles per hour, it blew trees down. Mild temperatures in the upper Midwest this week meant more flooding. The Minnesota River is several feet over flood stage in some areas. By week's end, the activity was in the southern plains. There were heavy rains, flooding, and severe thunderstorms in the Lone Star State. This system will make the weekend a washout for the country's midsection. That's Weather Rewind. I'm Declan Cannon.
Well, let's see what's in store as we head into the future. That was your look back. Well, look ahead into our forecast shows the chance for wet weather. All these areas you have shaded here in green, including the areas here in darker green where flood watches are in effect. You've had snow melting recently because of warming temperatures. Add to that rain that's falling, and you're going to have the potential again for flooding throughout this area. Keep that in mind. Not good news for you. Also keep in mind that in some of these areas that rain is going to be changing back over to snow as the system moves on through. So with colder temperatures moving in, you may have some slick spots on the roadways, not just because of wet weather, but as that moisture freezes, you may have some icy conditions too. As far as storminess, that's a possibility here to the south. Strong to severe storms, strong storms as well in the southeastern U.S. Wintry conditions, blizzard conditions for the Dakotas. Very windy conditions. The snow is falling. Visibility's 0 in some areas. So again, we've had some real problems here. Some of the interstates closed, so best not even to try to travel in this sort of weather, of course. And we've got the chance for snow back to the south too, through Colorado and into Utah. But it's here to the north where windy conditions are going to be around. Winds well over 50 miles per hour from northwestern Kansas all the way up through the Dakotas into western Minnesota. Where's everything going to be on Sunday morning? Well, here is our low, the same one responsible for the wintry conditions that are occurring through the Dakotas. Well, as we head on into Sunday morning, this is going to be lifting northeastward into Canada. Wrapping around that, we still have the very windy conditions. We still have the snow. Look out the Dakotas and on into Minnesota. Now eastward, wet weather possible for parts of New England, all the way back to the Carolinas and Georgia to the Gulf Coast, so be on the lookout for that. It looks like that's going to be around for much of the day, so sort of a murky day for folks in the southeast and along the east coast. The low continues to lift into Canada, the snow continuing to wrap around it. Also some snow associated with the stationary front here, so look out maybe the Bitterroots getting in on some wintry weather, while most of the western U.S. is fairly quiet. It's going to be in the east where we're going to have rain. We're going to have snow, and again, things are going to be pretty messy here through parts of the upper Midwest. Precipitation amounts shaping up like this. Now, some of this is going to be falling in the form of snow, and some of it quite heavy here, where a foot or more of snow possible from northern South Dakota into eastern North Dakota and then into northwestern portions of Minnesota. This is where that swath of heaviest snow will be. Low temperature Sunday, pretty chilly behind the front, out ahead of it mild. And here are your high temperatures on Sunday. Again, chilly here, but nice and warm in the east with highs well into the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So again, things looking nice and toasty here. For your high temperatures on Monday, coolest to the north, warmest to the south, and that trend is going to take us through the week. So look out for that. A bit of a moderating trend here to the north for Tuesday. And while not hot across the southern half of the country, it's going to be mild, relatively speaking, with 60s from Charlotte to Atlanta to Dallas, 70s from Houston to New Orleans, maybe even a few 80s in the southwest and in southern Florida. Then to the north, again, some of that cooler air around on into Thursday. Our system begins to push off the east coast Monday. Still some showery weather in the northeast, some snow for the northern lakes, and that front sort of getting hung up here over northern Florida and the tail end of it near Texas. So that's going to mean rain and maybe even some storms here. Windy conditions the northeast, isolated storms Florida and in the west. Here's what you can expect. Perhaps that moisture becoming a little more widespread as we head on into Wednesday. So anywhere throughout this region, look out. You could have some messy weather to contend with on into Thursday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms here with that moisture coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico. Cooler temperatures back here, so again, the mountains will see that precipitation as snow, and you may even have some snow flurries in the northeast. Stay tuned. We have got your business travel forecast and your extended travel forecast coming up.
Psychic Advisor is so convinced its psychics are the best, it's offering 10 minutes free just to prove it. Let's get the real story. Ever called a psychic? No. Want to try? Sure.
No gimmicks, 10 minutes free. That's your introductory offer to call the Psychic Advisor now.
How was it?
She knew I was going through a bad breakup, but said, no more tears. It's not my fault. So look out, girlfriends. Here comes trouble.
You go, girl. Give me that phone.
Everything to gain, nothing to lose. Call now for your 10 minutes free.
Excuse me, would you like to try a psychic reading?
The Psychic Advisor wants you to get what you call for. Real readings from real psychics.
She knew that I was hiding something from my new boyfriend. She told me I should be honest and tell him about my son, Aaron, because he would treat my son like his son. And now I have the courage to tell him.
It's true. 10 minutes free. I can't believe how many answers I got with 10 minutes free. 10 minutes free is 10 reasons to call.
10 minutes free, that's a real story.
Don't wait. An offer this good won't last long. 10 minutes free. Call the Psychic Advisor now.
Call 1-800-683-2207.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather. This is your local forecast. Weather information you can plan on.
Time now to take a look at our forecast, and actually what we're going to take a look at is our other source, and we'll take a look at some travel conditions if we can. Let's take a look at, there we go, we'll take a look at what's going on as far as some soggy conditions, and it looks like we will indeed have some of that wet weather along the East Coast, the chance for some rain, as well as in parts of the Midwest where you may have even some flooding problems, unfortunately, as a result of recent snow melts because of a bit of a warming trend, which is going to be rather short-lived. You'll see a cool down once again, and you will have again the chance for flooding because of the snow melt and because of the wet weather that's occurring there right now. Now there's also the threat for some strong to even severe storms through parts of Missouri and on into Kansas, and that threat of strong storms extends well on up into Iowa and Illinois as we head through noon on Sunday. The southeastern U.S. could also have some strong storms from South Carolina to Georgia into the panhandle of Florida. Now, we also, unfortunately, have some wintry weather to contend with as well, and that is from the Dakotas, where things have been very messy indeed with blizzard conditions, very strong winds, the snow falling, and the snow really extends anywhere from the Dakotas on back through Colorado, Wyoming, on into Utah, and on into Minnesota. You may have some icy conditions perhaps mixing in with that wintry weather, so be on the lookout for that sort of a mixed bag of precipitation going on here through the state of Minnesota as we head on through time. And again, the wintry weather continues, as well as the very windy conditions through the Dakotas, western Minnesota, on into Nebraska and Kansas. Winds well over 50 miles per hour, so you will have blowing and drifting snow, reducing visibilities significantly. Be on the lookout for that. Also, look out for some foggy conditions, which could reduce visibilities through the UP of Michigan and northern lower Michigan.
Record snowfall for the month of April, nearly 25.5 inches. Residents had to literally dig themselves out. There were impressive snowfalls throughout the New England area, like Putnam, Connecticut, and Providence, Rhode Island. By midweek, the nor'easter moved out into the Atlantic, but another storm system moved into the west, dumping more than 2 feet of snow on Flagstaff, Arizona. That same storm system brought strong gusts of winds to areas of the southwest. In Centerville,
Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Kristina Abernathy. It's time to take a look at our forecast as we head into the coming days. But before we do that, we want to take a look back at a little bit of history, a look back with Weather Rewind.